Let's jump right into the learning objectives. I have a lot of material to cover, and I hope when we get done today, you'll have a much better understanding of the pieces and parts that you need in order to correctly report this type of income. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is identifying the type of equity compensation. That's the first thing we have to do. What are we dealing with? And often after we answer that question, everything else falls into place. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to then determine if there is taxable income in the current year, maybe, maybe not. We're going to show you how to correctly report the income as either ordinary income or as capital gain income. We're going to calculate the cost basis of any stock that is sold. And based on what I'm seeing on message boards, this is a huge issue for many of us. And so I hope you walk away with some very concrete ideas and ways to figure out what the correct number is. And then we'll talk a little bit about AMT adjustments. When is that necessary and what does that look like? So that is where we are headed. So specifically, we're going to talk about 4 different types of stock options or stock incentives. They are incentive stock options or ISOs. Now, this term is actually often used pretty generically. We say our client has incentive stock options. But from a tax perspective, ISOs have very specific tax attributes, and we need to understand the distinction there and the difference. We'll talk about employee stock purchase plans or ESPPs, non-qualified stock options or NQSOs. Again, very specific tax attributes, and we need to make sure we know which type we're dealing with to make sure that we're taxing it appropriately. And then lastly, we're going to talk about restricted stock units. And I'm going to talk about the progression here and why we've seen a change. Many of you are probably seeing more of those restricted stock units than the ISOs or the NQSOs that we saw historically. So I'll talk a little bit as I have time about why that is, why we're seeing that change.